we became large-scale concert ticketing partners for offline events. So the bigger concerts that were happening in the country, we were selling tickets for them in Bombay. We eventually also started flying down a lot of international artists to Bombay, and we started hosting the concerts ourselves. When that first restaurant happened, which is in Powai, and we actually launched it, and for the first 10 days nobody came, and we actually started questioning everything. And
I think we are on the same boat on that.
yeah, every week, once a week is when I'm sitting and having a conversation with my wife, saying that, listen, I think I'm done. Let's just sell everything, get out of the country, and chill, live a slow-paced life. And then exactly 3 days after, I'll be going back to her saying that, listen, I've seen 2 new properties. I think we should log both. It's going to be great for business. Bottom line is, we're running a restaurant. We're not building spaceships. We're not running a country. We're not making syllabus for schools, right? No one cares. The guest coming is coming to have a good time.
We are in Bombay. The restaurants are in Bombay. Bombay has a very crazy Bollywood influence.
Yeah.
And I think I have also seen over the years that, marketing it with Bollywood people, getting them to your restaurants and, getting those glamorous things done. So how did you go about it? How did you find that first Bollywood client to come to one of your restaurants or to help you market it? How to attach with that? How did you pivot in such an atmosphere?
I don't know who the person is, but I'm actually carrying forward the conversation. Yeah, it's been ages. Yeah, come, let me make you have a shot, and then getting something for them. And then later I look back and Nikki's looking at me, you don't know that person, do you? And I'm like, oh God, this is embarrassing. I don't know what came to us. We were like, we're going to have a monopoly in New Year's Eve in Bombay. So we went to every possible best restaurant between South Bombay to Bandra, paid them upfront money and bought out everything. So we were like, if someone has to go out for New Year's, it's going to be at one of our places, otherwise they won't.
Hello everyone, I am Sharad. Welcome back to Life Unscripted. Today we are shooting in Mumbai, the go-to destination for hospitality, fine dining and to have fun in India. And I have with me Pawan. Pawan is the driving force behind the reckoning in Mumbai in hospitality, fine dining and nightlife. I wouldn't want to disclose a lot because Pawan has a tremendous journey, and let's hear it from him. Thank you so much, Pawan. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you so much for finding time out of your busy schedule, because running all these restaurants and building new things day after another, it's a challenging task. And only you can tell us more on how do you manage that.
So firstly, Sharad, thank you so much for having me here. I am super happy to be a part of this, and I have been following your series for a long time. And I think both the sides, the guests as well as the questions, are really well aligned. And I always thought that at some point of time we'd cross paths, but I think this invitation came sooner than expected. So thank you for having me here.
So Pawan, thank you so much for those kind words. Now do tell me, we always talk about the person, and that's what we are here to discuss today. Tell me about your beginnings. Like, how did you get into hospitality? We always talk about that spark, that everybody now is looking for that next big idea, that next big thing. And Bombay, I mean, for as long as I can remember, has always been about nightlife and the vibrancy that it is. So I believe that when you got into it, it was already cluttered. So how did you find that spark, and how did you get that motivation that you could actually carve your way in?
So hospitality for me was something that I just stumbled upon. It was never planned. There was no thought that, I want to grow up and become a restaurateur per se. It was just an absolute sort of a chaotic entry into it, and then eventually ended up spending so much time in it that that's the only thing I knew. I'll take you back in the day. I was 16. I just started my junior college. I was in HR college in Churchgate in Bandra, traveling to Churchgate. I would take the local train every day, and Bombay local trains are really, really crowded. What would happen is, by the time I would reach college, I'm already sweaty and dusty, and it was a South Bombay college. I was meeting a fair bunch of new people and making new friends, and traveling by train was always an itch for me. And I was like, I have to do something. I don't want to travel by train. I want to make some side money. So I would get paid. My parents would rather give me 1,000 rupees a week as my pocket money. And from what I remember is, I would spend that 1,000 completely on cabs, which would be 250 rupees one way at that time. So 4 days, or rather 4 sides of cab traveling would be my pocket money, and then I'd not have any more money left. So I start figuring what are the side hustles that I can do, and I got an opportunity to start hosting events for my college. One of them was a prom night that I'd hosted in HR college, and because I'd spent all my money traveling in cabs. I didn't have money to buy my prom pass. So one of the competitions in college was that the person who ends up selling the most number of prom passes will get one couple pass free for themselves. So I was like, this is it. I do this, and I'll be able to go for that prom night. And then I just took it on, and I went all out selling those HR college prom party passes. And I would stand outside HR. I would just end up meeting students, approaching them, saying, hey, I'm selling tickets, and why don't you come in for the prom night? It's going to be amazing. Then I would go outside Jai Hind College and Sydenham College and Xavier College. So these are all surrounding colleges in the area, and I would just keep approaching students randomly, saying, come for prom, come for prom. Ended up selling the most number of tickets at that prom night, and I did get a free pass, and I ended up attending that. But what that made me do is meet way too many people, and too many new people who then looked at me saying, oh, this is the guy that organizes events or sells passes. That from one event led to then something else was happening. Then I was selling college tickets for that. I had become that pseudo ticket seller in Churchgate who was selling tickets to 16 and 18-year-olds to go for these college socials. Then I got an opportunity. So there were a lot of restaurants which were either shut in the day or maybe didn't do as good business during the weekdays. So what we did is we were like, this is cool. All our friends, and especially all these people who I had met, would keep telling me, hey, listen, when's your next event? We would want to come for it. And I was like, okay, this sounds cool. Why don't I approach a restaurant? Maybe I'll take like a Tuesday or a Wednesday afternoon from them. And I'll tell them that anyways, you're not doing that much business. What if I get you 80, 100 people? And they'll spend decently. So I was like, okay, I need to formalize this a little bit and, not do it ad hoc. This is actually very funny. Fast and the Furious had come out then. And Vin Diesel kept talking to his teammates about these chromium number plates and chromium exhausts and etc. And chrome was a word that stuck by. So I was like, okay, this sounds cool. I'll take chrome from there. I'll make it Chrome Nightlife. Make myself sound cool. I was a decent graphic designer. Quickly went on Photoshop, made a logo for myself. And I went to these restaurants. I'm like, okay, I'm Chrome Nightlife now. And I'm going to take your Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm going to host these college socials. And what they would then do is, for every person that would come via me, they would pay me 150 rupees. So that is how it started. We started doing, for the first one, I think we got about 70, 80 people. And soon this kept increasing the number. At one given point in time, there were about 300-400 people, all college students that were partying through us. And Chrome Nightlife had then sort of become a pseudo brand name. We would keep hosting different events at different spaces, nightclubs, restaurants or banquet halls on their off days and free days, and try to increase revenue for them. So what started off with this, eventually we sort of formalized this more. We became large scale concert ticketing partners for offline events. So the bigger concerts that were happening in the country, we were selling tickets for them in Bombay. We eventually also started flying down a lot of international artists to Bombay, and we started hosting the concerts ourselves. So this went on 4.5 years. Chrome Nightlife sort of did a lot of stuff in Bombay within the nightlife circuit. So throughout my junior college, F5 JC till third year senior college till I graduated, it was the brand name was called Chrome Nightlife, and we kept doing different things in Bombay.
So basically, you just found an opportunity out of thin air and looked where nobody looked. Now that works like a side hustle. But then you developed it into a full-fledged, hotelier and dining and all those experiences. So how did it, I think when things are going right, when things are going your way, you just want to build on that.
Yeah.
So for example, if you're doing 10 events, you might want to do 20, you might want to do 40, hire a big team around it, delegate, which is what is happening right now.
Yeah.
That, the founders hire a nice team, straight out of college, teach them the AI gimmick and move on. So what made you take the next big step and, have something more tangible, like into a restaurant? So can you tell us what changed in your mindset, and then how did you go about opening your first venture in that regard?
So this journey actually is one with too many pivots. So after running Chrome Nightlife for about 4.5 years, and the board exams and all happened and we graduated, I was very done with staying up till 5 a.m. every day. My lifestyle had become that 4 times a week during my events, I was up till 5 in the morning, come home by 5:36, sleep, and then, wake up at 1:30. And I was like, okay, this is getting too much. I need to, do something about it because I'm not 16 anymore. I'm 20, 21 now, and I'd done too much of it. Elaborated social circles, and I was like, okay, this needs to somewhere pivot, and I also need to do serious work because at that given point of time, while we were making great money, it always felt like, will someone keep paying me to host parties throughout my life? And that question kept lingering on, okay, what's next, and for how long do we want to do it? We knew one thing, that we knew restaurants very well. We know how restaurants function. We know what restaurants need. One thing which was not formalized but we had learned was sales. By doing these events, we were getting great revenue to restaurants. While we didn't look at it that way, we looked at hosting parties, but that was a skill set that we were building, right? Building revenue out of network. So after doing this, the next thing we were like, okay, because don't want to get out, what is the other thing we know? Graphic designing is something that I knew decent, and that time Facebook had just come out and it was trending, and we were figuring. So the BB and BlackBerry Messenger era had now shifted to everyone moving on to iPhones, and Facebook pages is something that we wanted to build on. So we're like, okay, let's call Chrome Nightlife Chrome Communications. We'll turn ourselves into an agency, and let's help restaurants now market themselves on social media. Most of the restaurant owners didn't understand this. They didn't know how social media exactly worked. We were decently good at it because we were doing this throughout for our events also. So we were like, super, let us go and pitch them this. And we knew a decent bunch of restaurateurs in Bombay because we were hosting events mostly at their places. So again, quick logo change on Photoshop. Chrome was kept. Nightlife was removed, communications was added. And we started presenting ourselves as a more mature company now, saying that, hey, we're an agency. Initial retainers were 4,000 rupees a month to post on Facebook. So I would design, I would write some content, and I would put it up and make social media calendars for them on Excel, etc. Slowly, this started getting more serious, where we started learning more things. We understood that, okay, a restaurant does not only need a Facebook page, there are more things. Instagram had come about. We understood the whole lineage of what PR is, and how do we sort of help media to push restaurants. Branding and design became an integral part, because when new restaurants were launching, they would keep coming to us saying, hey, can you help me make my entire brand deck? What should be the name of my place, etc. So at Chrome Communications, we would do everything for restaurants, from thinking what their name would be, their entire branding and design deck, to then doing their launch event, because we already had a network of everybody who went out in Bombay. So the launch event was hosted by us. Right after that, then we would handle their social media, we would handle their PR, and kept going like this with retailers, with restaurants. Chrome Communications, again, as a company, ran for about 4.5 years, and at a peak, I think we had reached about a 50 people odd team. Our head office was in Lower Parel, and also at the highest number, I think 80 odd restaurants is what we had on retainer with us, along with a lot of individual projects that we would keep doing. So by the end of Chrome Communications, we had sort of mastered the art of communication for F&B, and that's something that we understood really, really well. So right after that is when, because of our involvement so much with restaurants, so we would tell them how to do sales, which is all the experience that Chrome Nightlife taught us. Everything to do with marketing, PR, branding is what we were doing at Chrome Communications. One of my friends who was also a client said, hey, listen, why don't you do one thing? You join me, we'll run it together. You're anyway so involved in this. And I was like, yeah, why actually don't I? And can I? The best thing was to do is just jump into the water and learn to swim. So I started managing 2 odd restaurants in Bombay. Sorry. And so at that time, it was somewhat of a GM role, but GMs generally moreover look at operations. I was doing operations, marketing, sales
everything,
entirely, right? And I started working with them, and that's when I actually started realizing the hardcore operations part of it, which was on ground, aligning the teams, training them, making menus before actually designing them, because Chrome Communications was, okay, the chef would send us the menu, then is when our work started. Now it was also visualizing what the menu would be. So sitting with chefs, brainstorming on that, keeping a great eye on trends to keep uplifting that. And both these restaurants did really well. And then we knew, okay, there is something happening here. We should look at this in a more serious way and look at running restaurants in a more serious way.
So when you took this leap, as you said that you have to dive into the water to test,
Yeah.
how the water is and whether you can swim properly or not. I believe that there would be many voices coming from behind you with colleagues or friends or family who would be telling you not to do this. So was there any particular instance that you were like fed up of all the voices or the vices, if I may? And how did you navigate that? Because I think that when anybody tries to do something out of the ordinary and especially pivoting from what is working, and you have already done it twice,
Yeah.
first as an event manager, if I may, and then as a communication specialist for F&B,
Correct.
and now you want to own a restaurant. तो एक वो बात रहती है ना, जब सब सही चल रहा है तो क्यों, मतलब why do you want to change? So how did you tackle that? Because idea is like a virus, as in that movie Inception, what they talk about.
Yeah.
If somebody puts that idea कि नहीं सब बढ़िया चल रहा है, मत कर.
Yeah.
But going beyond that, what made you push through?
So the idea was the agency business was pretty set. It was doing well, and not too much of my time was going
So you did
in
not
it on a
stop
day-to-day
it.
basis. So the agency initially was on. Till the time we didn't, I think even after the first restaurant that we were properly managing and running, that was not owned by us. We were managing it for somebody else. For the first 1.5 year of that restaurant operational, the agency was still running. It's only after then we were like, okay, now the bandwidth is sort of getting disturbed. So let's start closing down the agency and get enough number of restaurants that we start running. And by then, in the first 1.5 year, COVID had hit. So irrespective, the agency business was done. Nobody was hiring an agency anymore. People were figuring delivery with ads on aggregator platforms to keep the ball rolling somehow. So the agency business was anyways through. And COVID actually turned out to be also that one point where we got a lot of time to strategize the next innings for Chrome, which then again on Photoshop, communications was removed, hospitality was added, and Chrome hospitality was pretty much born then, where we're like, okay, we are going to consult restaurants end-to-end setups, and we're going to start getting more seriously into the management / ownership model, where we will now start owning our own restaurants and building them.
So don't you think, like in today's day and age, whenever we talk about a new business or a new venture, I think founders are very focused on ki what our brand is going to be called, या उसका tagline क्या होगा, या उसका logo क्या होगा, and people spend months. And now you have done it thrice with like minimalist Photoshop skills and quickly. So what do you think is changing in the market? Why are people focusing so much on what it's going to look like or sound like rather than delivering the value that they promise?
I think it's more to do with, is it a back-end company or is it a front-end product, right? When we build our restaurants, there is a lot of effort that goes into the name, the branding, etc., right through it. For a parent company, we felt that Chrome sort of now resonates with that 16-year-old because, see, even they were growing with me, right? A lot of my biggest clients, some investors, my partners are those people who I started partying with when I was 16. So it's the same community where I am 31 today when they are 31, right? Some of them are leading great businesses. Some of them have joined their family businesses and are spearheading them. A lot of people have moved out of India, but they still look for investment opportunities in the country. So the community is still together. And one thing that everybody respects is that, this is a product that actually flew by for 14 years. So even now when we all meet, we still crack jokes about, how I was standing outside a club with a guest list in my hand and telling, oh, you can come in and you can't, and, just laughing about all of that. But yeah, that actually turned into a serious business and all of us are equally shocked.
So now when you opened your first restaurant, first let everybody know the name of the first restaurant that you opened. And at the same time, apart from all the connects and the connections and the people and the network that you possessed, there would have been a time where one fresh customer who just came inside without any help, without any nudge, without any marketing, and it happens. So when was that? How long was that after opening that restaurant? And second, how did it make you feel?
The first, I'll actually tell you about the first management contract that I got. It was this small place called Tipsy Townhouse. It was by a friend of mine, Karan, and he was actually a client of mine. I handled social media and PR for most of his brands, and he was extremely supportive always pushing me that, listen, do more. So when he got that space, he had way too many restaurants at that time, and he's like, why don't you just overlook this, come on this side of things and run it. And I jumped onto that. So that was the first one. And then after that, we did a barrage of management consultancies. It was good, about 8 to 10 odd different restaurants that we were managing as managing partners to the space before we actually started taking up equity and getting into the ownership model for restaurants.
So again, coming to that, when you had the ownership, see, right now you're managing.
Yeah.
लोग आ रहे हैं, marketing चल रही है, there's lots happening. But when you have skin in the game, the real equity skin, and then without anything, like somebody just walked in, and I'm pretty sure, considering you're a hands-on guy based on whatever you're talking about and the passion that you come forth with, then let's say that 5 bunch of friends just entered and they went out talking really good stuff about your new restaurant which you have equity.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel? What was that? Was that an aha moment for you? कि यार 15 साल की struggle एक side and this moment एक side.
For sure. A lot of times in life, I think we just ignore the smaller things that happen to us, and we forget to celebrate the smaller wins.
Yeah.
Throughout in this juggle, we would have, before we started our first equity-owned restaurant, I don't know how many places in Bombay we would have been a part of, either via marketing or management contracts or PR promotions, concert gigs, etc. Right? But when that first restaurant happened, which is in Powai, and we actually launched it, and for the first 10 days nobody came, and we actually started questioning everything. Are we right? Are we wrong? What went wrong? Do people not know about it? Because our business model was, we pick up any one, which Chrome Nightlife would do. If it's a Wednesday night, we have 600 people on that Wednesday night, right? Because we send that one message.
Yeah.
And when it was our own restaurant, we had actually gone all out marketing it, and we had created a huge noise about it in Bombay. And for the first 10 days, when the response was just not picking up, we were like, have we done something wrong? Have we picked a space which is not right? And then everyone is coming up with 1,000 things, and then we are making a marketing plan of everyone in Bombay will be tapped via this, right? Like extensive. And then next thing we know, 2 days later, it was packed, and it's been 3.5 or I think 4 years to that now. It still stays packed every day.
So when you entered that day and you saw that crowd, what was going through your mind that changed everything after that?
I went in the office, shut the door, I did a little dance and got my posture back, came back and be like, okay, I'm running the place now. But yeah, it was a really exciting moment.
You have tasted victory. As you know, once your tongue tastes victory, you want more. I mean, I think it was from the movie 83. I'm just quoting random movies. I don't know why. It's the Bombay vibe. But so sometimes it's just okay to build on things, like you pivoted and you built something. Now you want to build another. And you have already gone through that first 10 days ka drought.
Yeah.
So then you moved on to the next restaurant and then one more. What was going through your head? Is it just like you became a serial entrepreneur in terms of the restaurants and you just want to start one thing after the other? Or you had a proper plan of action or a proper business plan? Did you have planning in place or you just winged it?
I think, at least from what I've experienced, I don't think anybody has a plan in place.
C-suite. They always have 10 pages of plan.
Yeah, and I mean, eventually the idea is, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. What actually happens is something else.
Of course.
And you wing it, right? You wing it as you go. At that time when we launched that brand, we were like, okay, now we want to focus on this brand and scale this in multiple locations. And the next thing we know that in the next 6 or 8 months after that, we had launched a new brand altogether in one location. So as we speak now, we have 8 different brands running between Bombay and Goa, and one of them is a...
Can we have the names of all the brands?
Sure. So one of them is Late Checkout, which is in Lower Parel. We have a great brand which is called Eve, which is also my first restaurant we have started in Powai, and now we have 3 locations of that, which is in Powai, Santa Cruz and Worli. Our landmark brand is called Gigi, which is in Bandra, and we have a small cafe called Donna Deli, again in Bandra. We have a great Mexican and Californian cuisine space in BKC, which is called Laila. And we have a multi-cuisine restaurant called Shai, which is in Chembur. And then Goa, we have a boutique hotel. It's called KAIA. It's a slow living based hotel, and 14 keys, a private villa. And within that is House Talula, which is our rooftop bar.
I believe there might be times when you felt that this is it. Yeah, I'm done. So tell us about an experience that absolutely shattered you. It might be a customer experience, it might be a team experience, but something that actually broke you in the middle. But you still powered through it, and how?
Honestly, I still feel like quitting once a week, and
I think we are on the same boat on that.
Yeah, every week, once a week is when I'm sitting and having a conversation with my wife, saying that, listen, I think I'm done. Let's just sell everything, get out of the country, and chill, live a slow-paced life. And then exactly 3 days after, I'll be going back to her saying that, listen, I've seen 2 new properties. I think we should log both because it's a great, it's going to be great for business. I have this funda which I follow a lot, is that when I'm screwed the most, that's actually a threshold building activity for me. And every time I get screwed harder, my threshold of bearing that gets increased a little bit. And I feel the most successful entrepreneurs in the world have a huge threshold to go through shit. That is what actually makes them great, not that one idea, not that one concept that they might have had, but it's that threshold of actually executing it to the T, going through I don't know how many failures, but eventually keep pushing hard, and then you just keep getting better at it. For us, it's a compounding effect. 14 years in hospitality in some way or the other, and we've sort of managed to crack a code that works for us. The same thing might not work for everybody. The same thing might not work for us in every location. But right now, what we have is a culmination of that.
So people always talk about, when you talk to any kind of guru or anything, they always talk about focusing on one thing.
Yeah.
Like even Swami Vivekananda in his text has mentioned that have that one idea and make it your life. So now, since you're juggling between 8 different brands, it might be chaotic and you might need a humongous team to manage.
Yeah.
And that not counting the staff that you hire for your hotels, because that itself is a big task. So what is that one thing that you look for your employees or you look for the team that you build?
I think the core philosophy that I have is ensuring people have a great time. I was doing that when I was 16. I was doing that as a communications company, making sure that people come into my restaurants are having a great time, of the ones that we were handling communications and marketing for, by creating great events for them. And now at our own restaurants, that is the core philosophy, right? If you're at a Chrome outlet, we want to make sure you have the best time when you go back. So what we're now trying to build is do that to different people in different locations, in different restaurants. Core philosophy stays that if someone is stepping out, how to ensure that that particular meal for them, or rather the whole experience surrounding the meal, was the best, is something that we strive to do.
And with your team, like even your team needs to have a lot of fun at the same time. So for example, orientation and fresh batch of people got in. So is there any particular 2 or 3 things you would like to tell them each and every time to make sure that they are in the right mindset and they understand the vision that you have built, is that everybody needs to have fun?
So the first part is being real, that listen, eventually, right, bottom line is we're running a restaurant. We're not building spaceships. We're not running a country. We're not making syllabus for schools, right? No one cares. The guest coming here is coming to have a good time. Most of our restaurants are also in that space, which are more experience oriented. So no one is coming from that angle, oh, I'm going to have the best dough from the best country in the world sourced for me with organic vegetables from this farmer. No one cares, right? They are coming to us to have a good time, and our core then focus is let us be in our element, ensure they are in their element, and do everything possible that on that table they have a great time, right? So I think that itself is such an icebreaker, because at least where I've seen a lot of other hospitality brands, or even when you go to more fine dining based spaces, people are a little uptight. Even the services that matter. We've completely cut that off at our restaurants. We want to be casual. We want to ensure that how the way you and me are talking today, my team and the customer is talking exactly like that. They're communicating really well with each other. They are very friendly, and the permanent idea is that you're here, I'm going to make sure you have a good time.
So there's this one instance that comes to my mind. I was actually at a very big chain, one of the Tajes in India, and I was just speaking to a gentleman regarding a problem I've had, and I was having a really good conversation with him, and he mentioned that most of the time people do not really treat us like humans. They just yell if something is wrong, and you're asking so nicely, so I would be more than happy to accommodate your request. So this just reminds me, this instance, that in your organizations also, there might be some days wherein a customer is throwing a tantrum, which spoils the mood of your team and the morale of the whole organization in that particular moment. So how do you, I don't think it is unavoidable or avoidable at the same time. I mean, it's completely subjective, but how do you make sure that your team still stays happy?
So we recently did some stats. We were looking at our last financial year. on an average across the spaces, we're catering to 1 lakh people per month. Now, out of them, you will always have 5 or 10 of them who've created
5 or 10 out of 1 lakh.
Yeah, out of 1.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, generally that number is not very high. Also, I feel in general people are good, right? You never have someone who's coming with the thought process, I'm going to go there and create chaos for the staff and leave, right? People are not doing that. For a lot of people, even if shit really goes down, they'll show their displeasure, but they will not act at all.
Yeah.
Then there are some people, how much ever you try to woo them, they'll still try to, be unpleasant with the team. So, out of the lakh, 5 to 10 are those people who want to sort of come and, not behave nicely. We've had these instances. For us, it's a team first organization, always. And where we feel that someone's really misbehaving with our team, we will let them go irrespective than what's the money on the table.
That's really smart, and I think that's respectful of your team.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Because I think, in today's day and age, what people do is they just want to satisfy the client. It is like client paisa dega. So वो जो बोल रहा है सही है, सुन लो, कर लो. So standing up for team in situations like that, it takes a lot of cojones to say no to money, say no to a customer.
Yeah.
And now, when we are talking about team, I think it is a never-ending process. As you said that, we have to do the same thing in and out day after day. So you have to learn.
Yeah.
And you have to learn on the job most of the time. And with tech, with YouTube, with different sort of lectures, lessons, and coaches.
Yeah.
So people try to learn a lot before they get hired. Ki main to fully prepared with what life throws at me. So tell me one skill that you believe in your line of business, that is F&B and hospitality and all those things, which cannot be learned anywhere else apart from on the ground, that you have to face it and learn.
So I'd actually say 2 things, which I feel are very instrumental in our growth as a team, and something that in my core team I keep instilling also always. Number 1 is managing people or managing teams, and part number 2 is sales. Sales could be anything which is regarding convincing the other person to go your way, right? It need not be a specific product sale. It could be today that, hey, listen, I know you're here for 1 hour, but I would love it if you spend 45 minutes more with me, right? Selling the idea in your head that you'd want to do that extra time with me. These 2, I think, are the most important skills, and both require extremely effective communication. Both require ensuring that when you're saying something, it is not just that the other person is hearing this, they are hearing it, they are actually instilling it in their heads,
And
they are registering it, and they are acting upon it.
Yeah.
The entire circle needs to be done, and not stop at phase 1 where, okay, I have communicated. Now, if the other person does not execute, that's not my job. So, the ensuring that the other person actually finishes the whole round till execution is supposed to be a person's responsibility. So, in my core team, that's one thought I keep instilling again and again. And that the idea is you're not only responsible for yourself, you're responsible for the other person's execution as well.
And this is something which you can only learn on the ground. I mean, nobody can teach you this.
No.
So this is like when you manage people, I mean, there are lakhs and billions of people on the planet, and you cannot really read all of them.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So that brings me to the next thing, talking about people. So we are in Bombay. The restaurants are in Bombay. Bombay has a very crazy Bollywood influence.
Yeah.
And I think I have also seen over the years that, marketing it with Bollywood people, getting them to your restaurants and, getting those glamorous things done. That has been a key part. So how did you go about it? How did you find that first Bollywood client to come to one of your restaurants, or to help you market it, how to attach with that? How did you pivot in such an atmosphere?
So, I'm glad you brought this up, and this is a question that comes to me a lot of time. We don't do any particular marketing to get them in, right? Number 1 is your product needs to be really good, right? And it needs to be superficial for a particular market. So, if I'm in Bandra today, I know Gigi is one of the best places to be in Bandra. That is number 1. The product needs to be great. Part number 2 is ensure accessibility is great for everybody, not targeted to a specific community, but for everybody. Is accessibility good? Do multiple people want to actually come to a restaurant like this? Yes, right. Then after that, it's about opening yourself up to conversations, to collaborations, right? Some might be with film stars or say movie launches. Some might be with the biggest brands of Bombay for their particular events. Some might be with publications or magazines, right? So the idea is your place needs to be versatile enough and suitable enough for these guys wanting to do events at your space. And then the audience automatically starts coming in, right? What has happened with most of our spaces is that when someone comes in, it's a feast for the eyes. They really love the way they are made. They really love the accessibility. They love the service. They love the food. So then a person is like, okay, I've come here once to dine. Now I would love to get my family. I would love to come here with my friends. I would love to come here with my girlfriend or my wife. Oh, I would love to do my company brand event here. Oh, I know this friend of mine runs this particular magazine and they are doing a launch event. I would love to get them here, right? So the idea eventually is recommendations, right? So build a product so strong that eventually people are recommending you in the circuits. And once you get popular within any community in Bombay, more and more people from that community want to keep coming to you.
Now, building on the same lines, I think any business to be profitable in the long run and be
Yeah.
sustainably profitable, you need to have repeat customers.
Yes.
And Bombay has so many things to offer.
Yeah.
Like when you talk about youngsters and all, I still remember when Zomato came in and they were not in delivery. So I had a few friends in Delhi and all, they used to go to restaurants, just tick mark on Zomato कि मैं ये restaurant चला गया.
Yeah.
So it is like a thing that I have been to so many restaurants.
Yeah.
So how did you break that barrier and somehow manage to get people back? Because I think loyalty is what sells.
Yeah.
So what did you do? How did you make sure that happens?
I feel any business, not just restaurants, is dependent on people buying from you again and again. The best way to do that is to be extremely consistent, right? Number one, and second thing, be approachable. If a customer is trying to get through you, should not be that tough. And second thing, if they come for 2, 3, 4 times, your services should be consistent. They should not be disappointed with it. Ensuring these two things happen is where our maximum hard work lies, in making sure, again, let it be the first time or the third time, the experience is consistent across all our places.
And is there a math behind it? Like how many times do the customer need to come to you or to one of your restaurants for you to know that he's going to be a repeat customer for a long time?
So there are people, honestly, there might be stats and math. I personally don't believe in that. There are tons of these reports. And I think every alternate day, because I also follow a lot of hospitality influencers and experts around the world, there's a new reel every day that 3 times, 4 times, 2.5 times in delivery and, all of that. But from what I have learned and what I've understood is, someone comes once and they have a great time, they will definitely come back the second time. But if you don't treat them well the second time, they might or might not give you a chance for the third time, taking it as an off day. Right?
That's very practical insight.
Yeah. But if the third time also is bad, then it's 2 out of 3 being bad, right? They're not going to come back. So the idea is, in terms of probability, let more good times be on your probable side versus the other, and I think you'll float. The idea is, see, again, while there are so many offerings, right? Number one is there are pockets. There might be a million restaurants in Bombay, but eventually there are only those many in, say, a Bandra Khar, Santa Cruz, which for me today is one pocket. There are a lot of people that don't get out of this area. There might be a South Bombay, Worli, Lower Parel. A lot of people don't get out of that, because traveling in any city, right, especially the bigger ones with the traffic that is there, people prefer to stay within their pockets. Now the idea for us is, whenever we're launching a new restaurant, say in a particular pocket, we want to be the best in that area, and that is the single sort of goal that we have.
And how do you manage to be the best? What is that one thing that separates you from the rest?
All the aspects. We've narrowed this down into 5 base pillars for every restaurant. Number one, where we start, is the interiors, because that being phenomenal in today's time is extremely important. People have traveled the world, and anytime even I travel today, my bucket list is of 2 types of spaces that I want to go to. Number one is with great chefs or great bartenders and great F&B. Part number 2 is places that look dreamy, right? And that's with everybody. So ensuring that the space looks phenomenal is number one, very important. Part number 2, hands-on, is the F&B that you're providing, right? It needs to be good, it needs to be palatable, it needs to suit the audience you're targeting. There is no compromise here. If they come for the first time, it's bad, they might give you one more chance. Second time also your F&B is bad, they're never coming back again. So that is number 2. Number 3 for us is the service, right? The team needs to manage this very, very well. So these 3 are more front-end things to do. Now in terms of back-end, right? We feel that the math and the P&L and the cost audits, purchase, etc., that team needs to be really strong, because this is the only thing that eventually is running the business, right? A restaurant is run as much on ground as it is from the back office, because someone being very, sort of sharply focused on every rupee being spent is very, very important. So this is the fourth, and the fifth is the marketing. The marketing is very crucial. I have seen great restaurants with amazing chefs do terrible, and I have seen products which actually have nothing amongst them but still do very, very well because the marketing team was brilliant. So in today's time, that is your standout feature. So I feel anybody, and especially us, when we are figuring out any new restaurants now this pattern has become our DNA. We've done it far too many times, but yeah, this is our sort of model we operate from.
So now you have given me so much of data in restauranting that I cannot help but wonder and see it in action. So now let's just consider that me and you,
Yeah.
right here, we just think of launching a new restaurant that
Yeah.
I'm an investor, and consider I know you for long.
Yeah.
And I just came to you that, Pawan, let's do this. Let's start another thing. So that one statement in the beginning. So the remaining four things are more of a management perspective.
Yeah.
The first thing, what you mentioned, that it has to be dreamy enough because
Yeah.
you travel a lot. So pick a place right now in Mumbai where we should be opening another restaurant, and how would you make it dreamy? Right here, live, because I don't think we have scripted this.
Yeah, of course, but I think so. In Bombay, right, there are a couple of places which are guaranteed it will do well, right? There are 4 primary markets which are the easier ones to pull off a restaurant. It's Powai, BKC, Bandra, and Worli.
Okay.
Right. These 4 spaces have a great mix of residentials and corporates both. So very high probability of the restaurant doing great in one of these 4 areas. So I live in Bandra. Bandra for me is home ground, so definitely.
And how do you make it dreamy now?
Now the idea is this is where my wife steps
Remember this, you have to beat Gigi.
I don't know if we can do that. Gigi honestly is a piece of our heart, and we're extremely close to that space. But also, so my wife and I, Nikita, her name is, we are 2 founders of the company. We're both co-founders at Chrome Hospitality. And while I am the more analytical and the person who's more math oriented and P&L and audit oriented, she's the one who brings the soul to the spaces. So all the restaurants are designed by her. She does everything from picking the colors to the crockery, cutlery, glassware. She runs the marketing. So most of the thing that what we are known for to a customer is something that comes under her portfolio. And I personally think she's one of the best people I have ever worked with on a more professional sense, and also maybe one of the most credible people out there to create a restaurant, because the kind of the way she understands the pulse of a particular area while designing a space is phenomenal.
Great. So you have expanded to 10 different brands now. What is next? Where do you see this industry going in the next 10 years? Because I think the attention span of people is changing very fast.
Yeah.
And they want new things. Like, for example, Gigi is running very well.
Yeah.
But market demands, like, of what I have seen is, if they have been there plenty, they want something new. And I have seen a lot of restaurants do this, renovate within 2 or 3 years, or rebrand themselves, change the cuisine, and it has worked many times.
Yeah.
So what do you think the market holds in the near future?
So first of all, it is an ever-changing market, right? People want to go out to a new place most of the times, and that is a fact. A lot of times we go out and we want to go try out new places, see what's around, right? But at the same time, what I strongly believe is it's a very operator-centric market. To keep your brand relevant is not something that everybody understands, but the people that do can create brands that sustain for 10 years and 15 years. There are some very good legacy restaurants in Bombay that have been functioning for 10-15 years, and in fact I'm talking about the new age ones, right, who started in the last 10 years but now have become great restaurants to be at. We take a lot of inspiration from them while thinking of things that we want to do at our restaurants. But yeah, it's a very operator centric market. Similarly, I'll give you a example of a hotel and why the life cycle is so much, right? There is a Oberoi hotel or a Taj, they would be there for hundreds of years, right? Even if they don't keep renovating the hotel again and again, because what you trust is the operator. You know that, if I'm going there, the experience is going to be standardized. I know this is how I'm going to be treated. I know the room condition will be nice. There are a lot of things by default, you're taking it for granted that, if I'm going to this brand, this is what I can expect, right? What we're trying to do is build that brand value at Chrome. So every time it's a Chrome restaurant, you know that, the place is going to look dreamy, the food is going to be amazing, the service is going to be friendly. Most of the times you might see a Pawan behind a bar bartending and giving out free shots. So the idea is build this to the core, right?
Have you actually done that? I'm so sorry.
So many times. So late checkout is something I consider to be a house party of mine. Nikki and I are on floor, we're waiting tables, I'm bartending. Sometimes we're picking up food and serving, we're taking orders. So we have a lot of fun over there. And also because it's a bar, so it's one of the more, I don't know if it's the right word, but unserious restaurants of
It's more
ours.
casual,
Yeah. So we have a lot of fun with that place. And it also has, there's a lot of soul gone into starting that place. And yeah, we try to enjoy every day over there.
Now, what is that you, in the beginning of our conversation, when we were talking about challenges, you mentioned that every week you feel like quitting.
Yeah.
But then the next day or after 2 days, you have a new spot which you talk to Nikita, if I may,
Yeah.
and you guys decide on what to do next. So there always is a trigger point. There's
Yeah.
something that comes up again and again that reminds you that okay, done, I'm gonna quit. What is that one thing that happens to you that that flips you off, and then again probably you flip back on?
So the idea is our business is heavily about managing people on a day-to-day basis, right? The restaurants work in a way that it's one-time construction, and then comes the running part of it, which is daily maintenance, ensuring the team delivers same consistency every single day. The team in an average restaurant of ours is anywhere between 80 to 100 people
Obviously, yes.
on payroll. This now divided between areas of bar, kitchen, service, housekeeping, maintenance. In the hierarchy, it's just you're dealing with too many designations. Now multiply that into 11, right, with the spaces that we have. This at some point of time, while we're also still getting trained with that, we, or rather I specifically, I wasn't professionally trained to handle such a large workforce, right? And it so happens that everyone at their skill set, generally when companies are scaling, right, there are a lot of things you learn on the job. So this is something that I'm learning on the job right now, of managing a big sort of workforce and all the problems that come with that. So this is the on-ground team, and then there is a corporate team, and then there are agencies. So at one given point of time, sometimes it's just that, okay, I might have woken up at 7 in the morning, and by the time I end my day at 11, I would have
याद ही
done
नहीं है.
300-400 phone calls.
Yeah.
At one given point of time, you don't even remember what you've spoken to, a particular person about. So keeping track of that sometimes gets tough. There are good days, there are bad days.
So has it ever happened to you, like you were talking to somebody for one restaurant, like as you mentioned, 400 phone calls? This did any kind of cross pollination happen? That you were talking to X about A restaurant, but you apparently told him about B, and you kept on going about the phone calls, and at the end of the day you get a call कि आपने तो किसी और को कुछ और ही समझा
All
दिया.
the time. I think everyone in the office has also realized that communicating with me is the toughest, because it's very important for them to have my entire attention, because they know even if a little is diverted, he's probably not even listening to us and just waving his head. And I am terrible at remembering names and details of, say, my last encounter with a particular person, and especially in restaurants, because you end up meeting so many people. There are times I'm on ground and someone just come to me, bro, it's been so long, man, we've not met. I don't know who the person is, but I'm actually carrying forward the conversation. Yeah, it's been ages. Yeah, come, let me make you have a shot, and then getting something for them. And then later I look back and Nikki's looking at me, you don't know that person, do you? And I'm like, oh God, this is embarrassing.
Now, it seems like your journey has been a lot about simplification. Like, this is what I resonate with, because at Entera, one of my software startups, this is exactly what I do. We try to simplify the ERPs and the SaaS for the entrepreneurs. So, as you mentioned that, the chaos of managing teams, but you have been at it for 14 years. There must be some simplification of some complex styles that you must have done. If you can share one of those insights.
I mean, the first idea is right. I try to become invisible.
Invisible.
Yeah.
But you're right there, you're serving free drinks.
Yeah, but at any given point of time, none of the people over there know, am I a team member? Am I a waiter? Am I the owner? Am I a manager? Am I a community manager? They just got on board to make sure that I speak to people and ensure they're having a good time. Everyone in our team is empowered to do their job the way they like. And let it be, our corporate office team, people who are working with us, heading marketing roles or PR roles, etc. There's a lot of decision making we actually pass on to them. Even on our on-ground level, someone needs to really mess up for us to sort of look at getting somebody else on board. The idea is decision making and managing P&Ls is something that we collectively as a company are responsible for, right? The unit moves together, the unit executes everything, and eventually when we win, everybody wins. If we lose, everybody's involved in getting it resurrected, right? The idea is that if everybody feels equally for the other person, and if it's a loss or a win for the company, we feel it gets everybody together in a much larger way. So, and for that, Nikki and I both have to take a couple of steps back and be like, in leadership positions, yeah, we're more on the guiding fronts, but we can't lead every initiative the company takes.
So when we talk about leadership, and you just talked about decisions.
Yeah.
So when you delegate a lot, I mean, and I have seen this in my business also, that people tend to fall on you just for a कि मतलब accountability हट जाए.
Yeah.
Boss हाँ या ना बोल दे तो हमारा tension खत्म.
Yeah.
How do you mitigate that? Because I can see that that would happen a lot if you delegate and if you ask them to take calls.
So I first am equally prompt if somebody's not done their job well, and I'm telling them that. But if someone does their job well, I'm also the person who claps the loudest, and I'll do that in front of everybody. There have been times where we were hosting international bar takeovers. We were getting a lot of these great international bars down. Some of them are in the world's 50 best and Asia's 50 best list, etc. Of course, the responsibility was given to the team to execute it. But I kept telling them that don't worry, anyways, I'm there on ground the whole day with you. If something goes wrong, we'll manage it. We did 3 of them, I didn't show up. Right? The idea is that, and they kept thinking, he'll come now, such a big event that the company is doing, how can he not show up? 3 of them I didn't go. But now I know for the 4th and 5th and 6th one, they don't care if I'm there or not there because they've done it. They've done it, they know it, they've ran the P&Ls, they were super profitable. It was all done by them without me actually showing up or rather being in any conversation, right? So now for the 5th and 6th one, I can go there, then decide if I choose to actually work on that day, be a guest, be a team crew member when I'm actually working, play any role required or not, because I know my team is fantastic and they'll do it.
So how did you build this trust? Because I think most of the founders today want to be involved in everything.
Yeah.
मतलब कुछ हो रहा है मुझे होना है because मेरे से अच्छा तो कोई कर नहीं सकता. And you mentioned that you actually let them go 3 or 4 times ताकि चौथे 5वीं बार वो सीख जाए, and then they can do it themselves. So when the first time is there, that's the scariest.
Yeah.
And you have to find some sort of willpower to hold yourself back.
Yeah.
So that they don't screw up, and I mean it's ever important. So what is that one thing that goes through your mind? Because that is something I think everybody who's listening to this podcast can benefit from.
I go back to the days when I was running these events, when I was 17 and 18, and there was nobody telling me what to do.
And how do you feel the pressure? Like you have made it, with 10 brands, starting from $1,000 for those cab rides, which ends in like 4-way.
Yeah.
So do you ever feel scared, or do you feel accomplished, or do you feel content? What is the emotion that when you look at yourself in the mirror the next morning, what do you feel? What goes through your head?
The thing is that, and I don't know, maybe I feel this is a edge that Indian founders have over a lot of other global founders, right? Our parents now treat us the same way, irrespective.
Got it.
My mother does not care who I am, what I do 5 people work for me or 500, is my office 5 square feet or 5,000 square feet. She doesn't care. She will still shout at me, she'll still bring me to the ground and humble me when she has to. And at the same time, where I have done something well, she has to shower that love on me, she does. In a way where she'll cook me my favorite food. But that is the limit that the Indian parents set you at, right? You've done something good, today dinner will be of your choice. So I feel accomplishments for us, that is all we want anyway, right? And especially in the household we've grown up at, I've seen the family really working hard, where we are all very close-knit as a family, and we always, like, the house goes out and about to support each other. And for us, nobody sort of talks highly or creates a bubble at home that, and especially my parents. Like today also, she won't care, mom and dad both, that is it 1 restaurant, 5 restaurants, 10. The idea eventually is that, number one, are you satisfied with what you're doing? Are you giving value to the customers actually coming to your restaurant? If something new has to happen in Bombay, are you the one leading that? The questions are always framed in a way that, are you pushing yourself more? Is your threshold now getting built further? Or have you come to a safe space where you're like, oh, okay, I'm 31, I've done everything, now let me live life, enjoy. like today also, in fact, this is actually something that happened last month. I was traveling somewhere and I was like, listen, I'm going to book business class. And the first thing she's like, who are you to go business class? Why would you spend on that? It was a 3-day conversation at home and I got riled up. I'm like, Mom, you can't particularly decide how am I traveling now. Ek to you heard about it because you happened to be in the room. This was a normal conversation I was having. I was talking to my booking agent that booked this and he heard. And as soon as I hung up, she's like, call him again and say you're traveling economy. She made sure I travel economy. And at that point of time, right, it did rile me up. But a couple of days later, when I was actually thinking about it, I'm like, you know, I am blessed to be around people like this who actually give it to me straight up.
So, I mean, it has been a lot to take in, Pawan, and it has been incredible listening to you. Now, I want to calm things down with some quick rapid fire questions. It can be a witty answer, it can be a one-liner. And so, tell me, what is the best street food you like in Bombay?
Vada pav. So, it's vada pav and safe puri. I personally feel I'm a connoisseur of both.
If it is not a Chrome brand, which other brand would you visit? The best restaurant according to you?
The best restaurant of?
Best restaurant according to you in Mumbai, not a Chrome brand.
You put me in a very tough spot and most of them are friends. But I'll give you a... okay, something that's extremely comfort to me, I would go to Royal China.
Royal China?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing that you would advise your children?
I would ensure they hustle.
Hustle?
Yeah.
Okay.
The idea does not come free.
In your complete journey, one aha moment that made you feel like that now you have made it.
I can get paid to party.
When did that happen? When was that moment?
The first event, there were 120 people that showed up. I got paid 150 rupees per person. I made about some 15-20K. And they had sorted all the F&B out for me irrespective. And I was respected the most when I was there. So, I mean, as a 17 or a 16-year-old, it was a dream job. And that was aha, like I was like, oh, this is also a business model.
One of your restaurants, one of your 10 brands or one of your particular restaurant that feels most like you, like that connects to your personality the most. I understand Nikita has done most of the dreaminess, but that one restaurant that just connects to you more than the others.
I think it'll be Late Checkout for sure.
Late Checkout.
Yeah.
One mistake that taught you everything that you know, that turned you around completely.
Initially, during the nightlife phase, at one given point in time, the events were doing so well, we started getting a little arrogant. And a lot of people stopped coming to our events because of that. And when we looked back at it, we were like, we've just not lost people coming, we've lost a lot of revenue because of that. And there was a GM that time, Aussie, he was the GM of this one particular place we were managing. He was pretty much a mentor to me. So every time I did something wrong, he sat me down because he knew I'm a 17-year-old with no idea, just a lot of friends coming to party. He would always sit me down and tell me that this is exactly what you're doing right, but these are all the things you're doing wrong and correct it.
The most craziest party or the event that you have thrown?
So many, but I think one year we had, I don't know what came to us, we were like, we're going to have a monopoly in New Year's Eve in Bombay. So we went to every possible best restaurant between South Bombay to Bandra, paid them upfront money and bought out everything. So we were like, if someone has to go out for New Year's, it's going to be at one of our places, otherwise they won't. So yeah, that was quite crazy.
Great. Thank you so much, Pawan. I think it was a lot to take in. I really appreciate the fact that how you pivoted from one business to other without losing the essence. And what I could feel from it is it was somewhere building you up for what you have right now. So basically you have the complete know-how of what you do. You have the nitty-gritties, you have the tools, and I could call you a subject matter expert when it comes to F&B and restaurants. And it is not an easy task to do because of so much of flashiness and so much of distractions in today's day and age of technology. Staying grounded, even though you have parents who are thrashing you left, right and center, it's still a task. Like, it's still, because like you mentioned, you still flew economy. I mean, you could have changed the ticket at any moment of time, but you chose not to. So that talks tremendously about the personality that you have built, and it has been a pleasure talking to you about everything that you have told me. And it has been a pleasure to understand and know your journey, and to know that things happen if you go out and make it happen. Things happen when you plunge into the pool without thinking. Things happen when you go after one thing and the next thing, become a subject matter expert and know what you are doing. Things happen when you are the best, and you need to know that you are the best. Things happen when you realize there is one thing that you can do better than anybody else. Thank you so much for sharing all these things.
Thank you so much for having me.
It has
Sharad.
added a ton of value to me, and I believe to all the listeners who are with us today. Thank you so much, everyone. You can attach with Pawan on his Instagram and social handles and get to know more about him there. Thank you. Wish you a very good day. Stay back for more.